There were 17 cats living in Larry's basement. He allowed one cat into his home last year, the poor thing looking lost and forlorn. After all, he had never had a pet before, and he wondered for a brief moment if he might be allergic to cats, but let the cat in anyway. How did one cat become 17? That's where Larry was confused. Cats didn't multiply overnight, or at least that's what Larry understood about cats. Perhaps another had gotten in when he had cracked the window for Bob, the first cat, that first week. Larry thought Bob might want to come and go as he pleased. Larry didn't really understand cats, if you hadn't already picked that up. But it kept Larry up at night, how he suddenly had 17 cats. There's a part of him that wasn't even sure he liked cats. He did, but did he? But still, how did one cat equal 17? Were they a gang? Could cats form gangs? As Larry finally drifted off to sleep, he thought maybe cats were really just aliens who could multiply themselves so that you just end up a dude with 17 cats named Bob because you couldn't be bothered to name each one. Larry's eyes drift shut and 17 pairs of eyes open all at once, all around him. Tom lost $25 at the races. This wasn't really new for Tom. He usually spent too much time and too much money at the racetrack. He wouldn't exactly call it a problem. Another $100,000, and it could be. Larry was supposed to drive him home, as he usually did on most Saturdays, but he hadn't showed. And while it wasn't uncommon for Larry not to show to drive him on any given Saturday, he would at least let Tom know so that Tom wouldn't drink so much. Not that he would listen. But Tom wanted to go check on Larry. But they weren't exactly friends. Yeah, Larry often did favors for Tom, but that didn't mean that he was the kind of guy who went over to check on people, you know. He was fine. No need for Tom to worry. Besides, he still had $20 left to lose. Tom was thinking about the time he caught a fly ball at the baseball game Larry invited him to. Okay, so maybe Larry was his friend. He had, after all, gotten out of the way for Tom to catch the ball when it was coming right at them. Was it fly ball or foul ball, or did it matter? Tom was clearly drunk. Why was he thinking about that game? It's not like that it was even fun. It'd only been him and Larry. Granted, he hadn't laughed that hard in a long time. Fine. Tom would go check on Larry. It was the only solution to the non-problem at hand. Larry was Tom's only friend, and obviously he was Larry's. Since he was drunk, he knew it would be best for him to call for a ride. But he really needed to save Larry right now. He stared at his keys for what felt like an eternity. Shaking his head, Tom pulls out his phone and calls for a ride. 15 minutes later, he's almost to Larry's house when he begins to wonder if he was really panicking for no reason. What if he gets there and Larry has a friend over that he doesn't want Tom to know about? He almost asks the driver to pull over several times, but finally gives up when he realizes that they've arrived. Tom gets out of the car, anxiety rising. The car pulls away as he makes his way to the front door. He reaches up to knock on the door, but sees the door is actually already ajar. Larry would never leave his door open like that. He would never. Tom walks in, not bothering to knock. It's eerily quiet. So Tom worries that maybe Larry isn't even home. It's about that moment when Tom thinks about turning around when he hears the chanting. thinks is coming from the basement, but if horror films have taught him anything, it's that he had to get out while he still can. While he still could. Except the chanting sounded so interesting. And he really needed to know what was going on. The curiosity. Through his drunken haze, he makes out the basement door and walks towards it. Pulse quickening, Tom slowly opens the door. The chanting dies down slightly, which causes him to falter slightly. The chanting gets louder as Tom moves down the stairs, rubbing at his eyes. Things begin to rather horribly come into focus. Larry is tied up in the middle of the basement floor, and surrounding him are cats. Tom didn't even know Larry had a cat, or so many cats. There were so many cats stalking Larry that Tom had to stop counting. He realizes that the chanting is actually meowing, but also might be words. It's really hard to tell, and it's very confusing, and Tom wonders what he should do, but he's clearly outnumbered, and silence falls. All eyes turn towards him. Startled, he trips and he falls down the stairs, and Tom knows only darkness. And that ends the tale. Is it the end? We don't know. What happens to Tom and Larry? Who can say? Some stories, they don't have good endings.